Hey, everyone who's already tuned in. Give us just a second. We're waiting for some more people to filter in, but thank you for joining us this evening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Human Condition's first virtual art show. Hopefully, the last, but we're doing what we can. It's the makeup show for our 2020 edition of the magazine that was unfortunately supposed to take place a few months ago, back in May, but unfortunately, due to these unprecedented times, we're here together on Zoom and YouTube. But don't worry, there's a lot that's in store tonight. I think that there's a lot of talent that's going to be shown from a lot of our students and alumni here at the School of Medicine. You were already just watching a slideshow if you came in a little bit early of some of the beautiful works of art that were featured in our magazine this last edition. And, you know, if you liked some of those editions, there's going to be copies of the magazine available in our student lounges. And, you know, if you're not actually from the School of Medicine, we're going to have a PDF of the magazine available. So thanks again for tuning in. I think there's a lot that we have in store tonight and a lot of talent and hard work that went into making this presentation possible. I'll introduce myself. I'm Jimmy. I'm one of the senior editors of the magazine. I'm involved with media and um, videography and layout. Anyone else want to give it a brief introduction?
Sure. I'm Britt. I'm one of the co-editors in chief this year. Very excited about all of the efforts that our wonderful leaders have put into place trying to put this together this year. So happy to finally be able to celebrate what we weren't able to celebrate last spring. And so hopefully some of our alumni are tuned in tonight. But I think it's just going to turn out really great. And I'm so happy about that. And hopefully some of you out there are inspired to submit this year because we're opening for submissions very soon.
I can go next. My name is Sophie. I am managing editor this year. I don't have a ton to add to what Jimmy and Britt have already said, but as a side note, I have noticed that for those of you who are on Zoom with us, if you actually set your view to full screen, the quality seems to be significantly better. So just a technical note there that Jimmy and I discovered during our trial runs earlier this week, but I hope you guys enjoy the show.
And lastly, I'm Aisha. I'm also one of the co-editors and chiefs with Britt DeVore, and I've just been so impressed with all the work that Jimmy and Sophie and our whole team have done on this has been exceptional to be part of. And I'm so glad we get to share it with you all and have this moment of reflection and peace and art and music. And it's going to be a really great show. So with that, we go back to Jimmy.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just going to dive right into the program. To start us off, we have a virtual performance from our favorite a cappella group at the School of Medicine, the Ultrasounds, who were able to record this virtually and present to you an audio file of just an amazing performance that they did, coupled with some beautiful photos of them. So if you give me a few seconds, I'm going to load up the music and the Ultrasounds will take it away. And what a lovely performance by the Ultrasounds. That was absolutely incredible. Britt DeVore, one of our editors in chief, is one of the directors of Ultrasound right now, and I think she did a phenomenal job with that. Just beautiful music that they did, and I'm really happy that they were able to do this performance virtually. I'm very blown away. Next up, we have a cover by two MS2 students, Gabby Sendek and Sumana Mahada, who are covering the song Tangerine by Glass Animals. They did a little video accompaniment to the cover as well, and I think it's pretty cool. So stand with me while I load the video and they will take it away.
As cold as an old as you say, much as focus dismissed in the eye. You poker your photos, scenario photos of you and your smoothie. I can't keep on making you happy cause you got issues with your daddy. I miss ramen noodles and laughing at you and your friend in your movie. But I wish I could show you more of yourself. I wish I could make you somebody else. But I left it way too late. Are you stuck in your own ways? I'm begging you, please, please, tangerine, come on back to me. You know what I need, tangerine, do this for me. Yeah, please, please, tangerine, sugar, honey, sweet. Get what I need, tangerine. The devil in it, all you talk is money, 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 money. It's so funny how it changes how you feel, how you see, how you need, how you sleep. All your freedom, caffeine, how you're looking at me. But I love it when the light sits on you just right. Tiny tangerines, speckles painted in your eyes. Yeah, please, please, tangerine, come on back to me. You know what I need, tangerine, baby, for me. Yeah, please, please, tangerine, sugar, honey, sweet. Got what I need, tangerine. Watching movies. Where are you? What happened? I won't go behind. Where you gone? Where you hiding? It's 2:23. You got friends on repeat, on repeat, on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. I wish I could show you more of yourself. I wish I could make you somebody else, but I left it way too late. Are you stuck in your own ways? I'm begging you, please, please, tangerine, come on back to me. What I need, tangerine, do this for me. Please, please, tangerine, sugar, honey, sweet. What I need, tangerine. Yes, please, please, tangerine, come on back to me. Got what I need, tangerine, do this for me. Please, please, tangerine. I'm begging, yes, please, please, tangerine, come on back to me. You know what I need, tangerine, do this for me. Yes, please, please, tangerine, sugar, honey, sweet. Got what I need, tangerine.
Let's give a round of applause to our wonderful performance by these two MS2 students, Gabby Sendek and Sumana Mahata. That was absolutely cute. That was fantastic. Next up, we have another performance by one of our own editors, Alicia, who is doing a cover of "Kiss Me" by Sixpence None the Richer.
Kiss me down by the bearded valley, nightly beneath the green grass. Swing, swing, swing that spinning step in. You wear those shoes and then I wear that dress. Oh, kiss me beneath the milky twilight. Leave me out on the moonlit floor and lift you up in it. Sing the strength of the bed and make the flowers and silver moon sparkling. So kiss me. kiss me. Down by the broken treehouse, swing me out by the hanging tide. Bring that flowered head in. We'll lick the trail right on your father's lip. Oh, kiss me beneath the milky twilight. Leave me out on the moonlit floor. Lift your openness and I strike up the bed and make my firefly sit in silver moon sparkling. So kiss me.
That was absolutely wonderful. I thought Alicia and all of our other performers did, again, an absolutely fantastic job with all their covers. And I mean, all those videos that I just saw were beautiful. And I'm really thankful that, the production quality on these was so beautiful. I'm really happy that everyone really took the time and effort to make these. This really does feel like a in-person live show. Now I really wanted to transition into something a little bit different. We had a little bit of a musical feature earlier, but we have a lot of talented artists at the School of Medicine who are not just musicians. We have a few poets as well. So we're going to start by having one of our own Redditors read a poem that was submitted for this art show by an MS 3.5. She's currently in her gap year, Gauri Shastri, who wrote this poem called A Thief. And Britt, did you want to join us on video and do a little poetry reading of that? I think your audio is off, Britt.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Perfect.
Let me pull it up real quick. Okay, so I'm reading this on behalf of Gauri Shastri. It's called Thief Who Vacuums. The pantry moths were chased with brown paper bags, released outside after being snatched from the air. Other insects were ushered using yesterday's mail before they were escorted out with utmost care. Ahimsa, nonviolence, is why we avoid eating meat, why no exterminator comes when the pests creep in. So despite the shrieking, discomfort, and so on, we are taught that to rob anything of life is a sin. But I stand poised for battle, vacuum in hand, as shame and fear are overcome by relief. And when it comes to those pesky eight-legged fiends, I suppose I would rather be a thief.
And a wonderful poem by Gauri Shastri. I wish that she could be here to join us, but I know she's doing tons of amazing things at the NIH as a researcher right now. So she's saving the world in her own ways. And thank you so much, Britt, for reading that. I wanted to transition into a little bit more poetry, actually. We have a number of really talented poets here at the School of Medicine, including Gauri and another student of ours who has submitted to the Human Condition, I believe, every single year since she's been a medical student here. She wrote two poems that she'd like to share with us today, and I was going to talk with her a little bit briefly about the inspiration to those. So if we could have Harpreet Gill join us on the stage for reading two of her poems.
Hi. Can you guys see me and hear me?
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So the poems I chose to share today, I think are especially relevant for medical school because we go through a lot of it kind of feeling like we're not enough. And I think that's part of the reason we end up here is because we strive to be the best that we can be. And that tends to be a double-edged sword where we always feel like we need to do more. And that's kind of where these poems come from. So the first one that Jimmy has up on the screen, why should I be ashamed that I cannot shine all day when the earth too goes dark at night? I wrote this in the middle of the pandemic, when we all got called off the wards. And I know a lot of us were struggling with really bad anxiety because it felt like we needed to be doing more. And I don't know, it was, like it was a pandemic. There was like a lot of things going on. Nobody knew what was happening. And I wrote this for myself and also for a lot of my friends and our classmates who echoed the same sentiments where, it's okay. It's okay to chill. It's okay to relax. It's okay to just be. We don't have to be productive all the time. You don't have to be at 100% all the time. And I think that's something that we as med students especially struggle with.
I resonate with those words so hard, Harpreet. I think, when the pandemic started, a lot of us really were, we were at the front lines. Effectively, a lot of us were on internal medicine. A lot of us were really where a lot of the pandemic was starting. And with that, I think a lot of us felt, although we were so early in our training, that we had this obligation to do something, an obligation to serve, an obligation to save. And sometimes we don't even realize that sometimes the best obligation we can have is one towards ourselves and one to keep in touch with our own health and our own self-care and our own self-being. I think that was something very difficult to internalize at the beginning of the pandemic. And I think your poem really echoes that sentiment really well.
Thanks.
I think there was another poem that you had submitted that you wanted to read. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now.
Yeah. This is kind of along the same lines. I'll read it first and then, it's kind of the same message, but I will talk about it afterward. Is the sun beautiful? I don't know. I've never looked at her. But I know she gives me life. So why does her beauty even matter? And I think this is kind of the same concept where along the same lines where it's just by being and by feeling that warmth, the sun has worth by being who she is. And I think for us, it is a lot of the time we want to show tangible results for what we're doing, but every day we are being productive in ways that you can't put a monetary value on, right? Like I'm somebody's daughter, I'm somebody's friend, I'm somebody's sister, I am like my dog's mom, there are things that I do every day that bring value to other people's lives that I can't put a number on. And that alone is enough, and it should be enough. And I think that sometimes we forget that. It doesn't have to be about, being the most talented person in the room or the most beautiful person in the room or the smartest person in the room. Just by being, you have worth, because you are taking care of yourself and you exist. And by virtue of that, you have value.
Yeah. Very powerful words, Harpreet, and very powerful sentiment. And I think something that, again, is like super needed in these times when a lot of us are feeling demoralized and a lot of us are feeling like 2020 has just been throwing curveball after curveball at all of us. So thank you for sharing those. I think both of them really carry an important sentiment right now. Again, since you've been such a prolific artist here at the School of Medicine and you've submitted a lot of work, I wanted to know really briefly just like who your inspirations were and what got you into writing poetry.
Yeah, I would say my biggest inspiration is Rupi Kaur. I think a lot of people know who she is. And she is the same cultural background as me, Punjabi Sikh. And a lot of people from my background, we are still fairly young in America. A lot of us, our parents are first-gen immigrants. We're like first-gen born here. And so we are often pushed to go into fields that are not necessarily in the arts. And she has made it so big. And I am so proud. I don't know her, but I'm so proud that somebody from my community is out there on the main stage, like doing something that's so important and showing our youth that it's okay to be artistic and want to be artistic and like you choose that as like a career field. And just like her writing, I feel like it's so like poignant. It's short, but it really gets you. And so she's probably my biggest inspiration. And then there's another poet that I highly recommend you guys should check out. Her name is Jasmine Jasmine Kaur, she's also like Punjabi Sikh. Her Instagram is like at JUSMUN. She came out with a couple books that are really, really good. And her poetry is also just like gets you. It's really, really powerful. And what got me into poetry, I actually have been writing poems for a really long time. When I was a kid, I used it as an outlet. I thought my sister was really annoying, so I used to write poems about how annoying she was when I was like, and then as I got older, it just was a way for me to express myself. And I've kind of just, as I have grown, I think my work has grown with me. And so it is kind of a reflection of who I have been through the years and hopefully who I will become.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your poems with us for the last 4 years here at the Human Condition. I think once you graduate and leave us, your work will be missed, and I think your impact will very much be felt. And I encourage you to continue writing well into residency and beyond.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you for joining us, Harpreet. Really appreciate all the words and all the poems and everything that you do.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So next, we're going to transition into a little bit more of a musical theme again. Starting us off is going to be a ukulele song. I believe it's Moon River. I always forget who the original artist is because for whatever reason, there are so many covers. I mean, Frank Sinatra has done it. Frank Ocean has done it. So many different musicians have covered this song, but it is an iconic classic. And we have a ukulele rendition of it by one of our students, Abian Mama Farah.
Crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. Two drifters lost to see the world. There's such a lot of worlds to see. We're after the same rainbows and waiting round the bend. My huckleberry friend, Moon River, and me.
And what a beautiful cover. Next up, we actually have a very, very, very special cover. One that I didn't expect to get, but I'm really happy we did. One of our own faculty has decided to join some of our students in a 4-piece kind of chamber quartet cover of a very classic song. I'm not going to spoil it until we actually go live with it. But I mean, when they submitted the video to me, I was just so impressed, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So bear with me for just a second while I get that loaded up. can we give these folks a huge round of applause, even if you're joining us virtually? That was absolutely incredible. I was blown away by that performance when they sent it into me. Once again, I didn't actually introduce them, but that was um, Dulshan Ajaya Sekera, I'm sorry with the pronunciation, MS2, Anita Satish, MS2, Tommy Chu, MS2, and Dr. Katharina Brandl, one of our pharmacology faculty here at the School of Medicine. Again, that was a absolutely brilliant cover. I'm not even sure how they put that together. That was absolutely phenomenal. Completely blown away. Again, you could tell that I'm at a loss for words the first time I saw that. Just to continue with the programming, next up, I wanted to feature something a little bit differently. In addition to poetry, prose, music, and all the other talents our School of Medicine students have, another one stands out, and it's actually a very common one. We have tons of photographers here at the School of Medicine, but none that are really as prolific as I'd say Lucia has been in terms of the recent few years. Much like Harpreet, she's submitted photos to the School of Medicine's Human Condition publication every single year for the last 3 years since she's been a med student here. Somehow still makes time to do all this photography in between her clinical rotations and all the other tons of cool things that she's done. And a lot of her photos have a very particular theme, and that is travel. She takes beautiful, breathtaking landscapes of all the different places she's traveled. It seems like she's traveled all over the world. And I'd like to have Lucia here with me for a second to discuss a little bit about maybe some of the places she's been, some of the favorite places she's taken photos of, and what had really inspired her to get into this craft. So Lucia, if you want to join us on the cam.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm just truly honored to be presenting. I just want to preface this by saying I don't consider myself a photographer. I think nature is just like beautiful and I kind of just take the credit for it. But yeah, like Jimmy said, a lot of my photography comes from traveling. So that's kind of where my inspiration comes from. Usually I don't really have an idea of what I'm going to take a photo of. It's more like if I see something and I want to highlight something, that's kind of the perfect shot. That's what I'll go for. But I really do like photography because I feel like it encapsulates so much of a story, especially what I've been going through at that time in just that image. And the best part is that like different people can see that image and have a different story related to it. So that's kind of why I like it a lot. Yeah.
It's interesting that you give the credit to your beautiful photos to the environment that's around you. And I think it's no surprise that you are a medical student, because I think more than any other career within the sciences, I always imagine medicine to be a very visual career. No matter what field of medicine that you go into, there's always going to be a very visual component to it. Something that you got to notice patterns, something that you got to notice cues in your environment, whether that be in your patients, the way that they behave, for the psychiatrists in the audience, like some of us aspiring to be, and whether or not you're a radiologist looking at literal images, whether or not you're a dermatologist looking at different skin lesions, really just tuning into that visual side is super important, really for your own skills as a clinician, but also, as a way of like seeing the world and engaging with the world. I'm curious as to how, your own, again, you don't call yourself a photographer, but your own experience taking photos and traveling has influenced maybe your own kind of perceptions. You're on the wards right now as an MS3. How has that kind of influenced you?
Well, I think my photography actually like began. So my mom worked at GoPro when I was still in college, and she made this bet that like, if you get featured by GoPro, and I forgot what the prize was. So then after that, I was just like, all right, I'm going to take my camera out and I'm going to explore, see if anything works. End of the story, I never got featured by GoPro, but I think me taking out my camera is just like really, I think that's kind of where the inspiration began. In terms of how it relates to med school, I feel like photography kind of reminds me to really think about the bigger picture of things, and at the same time kind of keeping it simple. And I know that doesn't really make sense, but for me, at least, when I look through my photography, and I do this quite often during medical school because clinical rotations can get pretty hectic, so a lot of times I'll kind of just like drop everything I'm doing, and I have like a photo album of some of my favorite prints, and I'll just kind of look through them and just remind myself that there's so much more out there. in this world rather than just what we do on a day by day basis. So that's kind of what photography means to me. It's just kind of a reminder of that aspect.
Yeah, no, and I think it's good to, as Harpreet was discussing earlier, I think sometimes it's really important when we just kind of take a break from all the, noise that we see on the wards and all the do this, do that, that we encounter in our careers as physicians. And it seems like photography has been something very liberating for you and something that has kind of gotten you out of this bubble that we tend to get in ourselves as physicians. It seems like you've done a lot of traveling. And I'm just very curious. You are always really good at really capturing the feeling and the moment of the places you traveled. I'm curious, this photo that I projected up on the screen, where was this taken?
This was taken in Indonesia. Yeah, so my brother, it was actually really cool because it was my first trip with my brother. And he wanted to see the solar eclipse in Indonesia back in 2016. So it kind of just reminds me of that good time with him. And I was like walking along the beach and I saw this little boy and he was just like tugging on this rope. And I just thought it was a really nice moment, how he could just have so much fun with so little. So.
Yeah, I think we can learn a lot from that little boy right now. I think so much of us feel like we have so little now, especially in the time of social distancing and the pandemic. It often feels like we're trapped in our own little worlds as we speak right now. But looking through some of your photos and just looking through all the stuff that you've submitted to the Human Condition over the last few years really kind of helps me get out of my own little room that I've been stuck in for the last 8 months. So thank you for doing that service to us. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Anywhere that you haven't traveled that you hope to take photos of soon?
Yeah, so it was actually my goal because I love backpacking, like international trekking, and I made it a goal to go somewhere every year. Like I've gone to Nepal, Tour de Mont Blanc. I went to Peru last time to do a Salcantay trek, and I like to do them by myself because you get to meet a lot of people. So I really don't know what I'm going to do with this year because of the pandemic, but I've always really wanted to go to Patagonia and I wanted to go to Antarctica and Canada. So I think those are on my list. And I also want to do South China. So there's a lot of things. Hopefully that happen. We'll see.
Any particular reason for any of those locations? Anything that you have a personal connection to, or?
I kind of look at the trails. So there's some really nice trekking trails and I read about it. I talk to people who've done it before. So I just think those have been on my list and I've heard so many great things about it. So yeah, that's kind of why I've been choosing those areas, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, I hope to, you have 1 year more here, 1 more year here in med school. Some people take gap years, so maybe 2, but hope to see what you submit next year and hopefully you get to go on some of those travels and things become a little bit easier in the world to traverse about.
Yeah, hopefully. It might be a picture from my backyard. We'll see.
That would be cool too. Well, thank you, Lucia. I really appreciate having you and all the work that you've submitted to our magazine over the last few years.
Thank you guys. I love the Human Condition. So I really admire all the work you guys have done.
Yeah. All right. So next, I'm going to introduce a brand new category that we're adding to the Human Condition this year, especially given the fact that we've had so many amazing video submissions just to this art show. The Human Condition is now going to be accepting video submissions, video art submissions for the 2021 year of the magazine. Hopefully some of these will be uploaded to our YouTube channel or other avenues like Instagram to showcase some of the beautiful videography skills that it seems like a lot of our students are really getting into. To kick us off, I'm actually going to showcase 2 videos that have been submitted. One by one of our own newer students, Ms. Sydney Dong. I believe she's in MS1, correct me if I'm wrong. And she put together just a beautiful compilation of prose and video art that I think is stunning. And after that, I actually am showcasing some of my own work that I've done with a very good friend of mine and an artist based in Los Angeles, Michael Montenegro. It's a video art and audio collage where I composed the music and he did some of the visuals for it. And they act kind of synergistically, and it's a little bit of an abstract piece. But I hope that these 2 video pieces really submit you to get creative and submit your own video art to the Human Condition for the 2021 edition. So starting us off again is Sydney Dong with her piece titled Dad.
Steps pummeled downstairs to the offbeat of my pounding chest. I raced to my mom in disbelief. It couldn't be. This can't be. Not now. Please. However, as much as I would try to squint and rub my eyes to a different reality, the months leading up to this day depicted otherwise. The changes started off small, but they started nonetheless. My older brother and I began waking to the grinding gears of a blender. Pureed foods were all he could eat. Toilet seats were swapped with more modestly circumferenced cushions. Direct contact with his bones caused discomfort. Doorbells rang from every couple of days to every other day to every day. These chimes signaled the arrival of his nurse. Muffled words turned to written exchanges, and sporadic naps turned into frequent sleep. He was in pain. There wasn't a grimace too mild to let this go unnoticed. I may have not fully understood these changes as they occurred, but this is how he lived. This was the reality. Hospice. I lost my dad to neuroendocrine cancer when I was 6. From the cultural tendency to shrug off seeking medical treatment in spite of illness, my dad uncovered the gravity of his symptoms at stage 4. Only after 3 different opinions did one fact consistently remain clear. At 38, he had just a few months left with us. I grew up crying unexpectedly throughout my childhood. Father's days would pass and I continued to make crafts for no one. I would crumble when unsuspecting friends asked me where my dad was. I used to look at the picture of the 4 of us at Disneyland perched bedside in my mom's room and sob. 1, for me, as I had yet to process loss, and 2, for my mom, who now had to parent us alone. Of course, there's no one to fault. There's nothing we could have done. Eloquence aside, cancer friggin' sucks. It wasn't until 8 years later that we, as a family, even addressed it. From then, it became a matter of how we proceeded, not just as a family, but as individuals. I attribute a lot of who I am to who I thought my dad was. My rationale, perceived purpose, and want to take care of others in this life, all him. Granted, I wasn't old enough to know him. I hear about him, and I construct an image that encapsulates the remnants I'm given. After all, that's all I have. However, by holding on, I hold on to the prospect of hurting on. Memory is not selective. I don't want to remember the staples that lined his neck following his lymph node dissection. As a testament to his good humor, he joked that these metal shards made him a member of the Bionic movies he loves so much. I don't want to see pictures of our last birthday together because I didn't understand that that would be our last one. I don't want to visualize my dad next to his hospice nurse, his eyes sunken, body emaciated, and knees caved into his frail chest. The juxtaposition haunts me to this day. However, these last moments weren't all that he was. My dad was a gentle husband, a good-humored brother, and a doting father. A fixer of all sorts. Name what was damaged and he could repair it before you could feel the ramifications of broken. My mom pesters my brother about this quality, but I think there's so much more to why she cares about this. She stresses she misses the fixer in the household, but maybe, just maybe, she misses him. Above all, my dad was a loving son. I'm reminded of this sentiment every time I visit my grandma. The instance that inspires this reflection is the story of her youngest son. As a toddler, pointing to a random boy's back in the distance. And hi, Gia, there's brother. At 17 months old, my uncle didn't know my dad was en route to a new life in America. He didn't know how afraid, brave, or worried his 15-year-old brother felt trekking into the unknown. He just remembered his unhigh. As a toddler, my dad woke up before dawn to help my grandma sell coffee. They couldn't afford not to. As a child, my dad snuck into a pool with his friends and accidentally dove onto someone. He couldn't hide the fact that he might have incurred a concussion from his all-knowing mom. As a teen, he raised his younger brothers until they moved to America. He was on the verge of homelessness until Grandpa Larry, a serendipitous neighbor, extended his kindness. My dad was hardworking, he was mischievous, he was soft-spoken, he was intelligent. Most importantly, he was human. Someone I wish I had the chance to grow up with and learn from. From loss, I've gained a deeper appreciation for the people in my life. I've learned to listen with genuine intent and treasure moments, good or bad, as lessons. And I've nurtured a beautiful relationship with my grandma, not just for him, but because of him. With my dad in mind, I hold these truths to my core. I was brought into this world to care for my family. I was brought into this world to do as much good as I could possibly do. And I was brought into this world to live life with a richness I wish we could have had.
Hey everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I'm again speechless, much like I have been for most of this presentation. Our first video, Dad by Sydney Dong, absolutely breathtaking and very candid, very honest, and very heartbreaking stuff. I mean, I think a lot of us editors of the magazine were discussing this in the chat as it was going live, and you know, a lot of us were pushed to tears even with how much honesty Sydney had and how much bravery she had to really share that with us and with the rest of you watching right now. I think this is really a testament to the level of empathy and the level of deep emotional capacity that our students have in their ability to showcase again some of their most vulnerable sides through their art. And you know, after that, I paired that with a personal work that I had composed with, again, a longtime collaborator and one of my best friends from early elementary school, Michael Montenegro, called Memory Loop, where we talk a little bit. It was a bit of a collage between a lot of video footage and music that had been collaged together of train rides, hikes in the forest, and so many different fun memories that we'd shared together, and how those memories loop and loop and loop and create this like really intense, beautiful, dreamlike bond between us, which I think represents our friendship and the reason why we made that collaboration all together. So, I mean, I think those two videos represent two sides of the same coin. Sydney represents a celebration of someone even after death, and mine represents a celebration of someone in life. And I wanted to pair those together to really create that contrast. If I could have the rest of our editors share their camera and give some closing remarks, that's all we have in store for you. But I'm really happy with how this went. And I think I really did a good job of, all of us did a really good job of showing you the talent that's present here at the School of Medicine. And I hope this encouraged you to create some of your own art, submit some of your own content for the 2021 edition. And yeah, I'm just, thank you for all the people that submitted works. I know it was really hard being cooped up at home and finding ways to really express yourselves, but it seems like you did an awesome job.
Yeah,
I am happy.
No, go
ahead. I'm still in that speechless, like, memory loop of the piece. I think that we needed so much heart and soul in this moment, and I hope I'm not alone when I like truly feel uplifted from you know, every stressor that we're experiencing right now. And I think it was so wonderful to hear the candidness and humility and grace of Harpreet and Lucia and Cindy through all of their videos and all the other submitters. I think it really does pay tribute to the wonderful people that we have here. And I don't take it for granted any day, and I definitely don't take it for granted today. And I'm just really proud to be a part of this community. So thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, it's hard to add much to that, but it's just a good reminder of why coming here was such a good choice in the first place and has remained a good choice pretty much every day since. But I wanted to give a shout out to everyone in OSA who helped make this a reality tonight. So thank you to Jamie and Ari and Burton for helping with us with all the logistics, and thank you to those unnamed individuals in IT who made this work too.
And also thank you for Jimmy for hosting tonight. You are an awesome MC. I think that, you know, when we first decided to make the art show virtual, a lot of us were a little bit nervous about how it would go because we've never done this before. We weren't sure if people would submit anything, but I think everyone agrees that we were just kind of blown away by the quality of the submissions that we got and like the amount of heart and soul that everyone poured into the works that they did submit. So I felt like tonight was quite a spectacular showcase of the many talents that our community has. And I'm really excited to see how things go moving forward as we sort of embrace this new category of submissions as well. It's a new year, you know, new human condition. So we'll see how that goes.
And again, encourage you all, every single one of you that's watching should submit something. I know that I'm a firm believer that there's an artist in everyone, and that, you know, if you get an idea, if anything inspires you, roll with it, and you'll be surprised as to what might turn out. So with that, I'd like to just, say goodbye and thank you for tuning in. It was a pleasure having everyone watching, and it was a pleasure to really host all the wonderful submissions that were brought forth today.
Thanks, Jimmy.